Alrighty, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Comics Run the World podcast. As always, I'm your host Mateo, and like in every other episode, I'm accompanied by
Frankie, how you been? How you been?
pretty good, pretty good. Been reading some good stuff right now, but I'm gonna ask you first. What are you reading anything new, or playing anything new, anything like that?
Still been playing, or not been playing. Still been reading Daredevil by Brubaker, and that's it really.
Nice.
I mean, I'm still playing Zelda, the latest Zelda game. I haven't had a ton of free time lately, so mostly just those two things. Whenever I've got the chance, nothing else. I've been putting on that TMNT from 2003. Uh, it's a good show to just like put on to just like have on.
Yeah.
Uh, it's a good. Oh yeah, I also watched this Ninja Turtles documentary.
Oh yeah, you
Um,
did tell me about that.
it's
How was
called
that?
Turtle Power.
Okay.
It's on which this is how I got it because my Paramount Plus free trial.
hmm
Uh, I think you can also rent it on Prime Video, but it's really 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 good. It's like I highly recommend it if you're a Ninja Turtle fan. It's
All
really
right.
interesting.
It sounds interesting from what you told me. Definitely will check it out. Speaking of which, have you seen the DC documentary on HBO Max?
No.
It's like something that just came out like I would say a week and a half ago. I saw it was like 3 episodes or each like 45, 47 minutes long. And it's really, really good.
Ooh, okay. I'll check that out.
Yeah, I recommend it. It talks about both the comics and the movies and just like how just like the comics influenced the industry and like how the movies kind of were like the things that revitalized the industry like time and time again. So it was
Yeah.
really interesting.
Have you seen released a long time ago, I think it was on Hulu. It was kind of a documentary about the other guy that created Batman. I think it was Bill Finger.
Yeah,
I like them trying to get his name in like the movies and all that. That one's really good. I haven't seen it in a long time, but
yeah, I did hear about that one, but I haven't really sat down and watched it yet. But it is on my because I kind of been like gonna try and watch like documentaries about these type of things. So it's definitely on my list on what to watch next.
yeah, it's really good.
Awesome. All right. So today's episode, we are going to do two little segments. The first one, we're going to, you know, tell us, we're going to say our top 10 comics we read in the first half of this year, 2023. And then right after that, we're going to do a this or that little segment where we each have 5 things and we ask each other, would you do this or that? And so on and so forth. Um, pretty exciting because I try to come up with some this or that's that are not like generic.
Yeah, I mean, one of mine, since this is the first time we're doing it, is like the most generic it gets. But like,
Yeah.
this is something we can just do over the course of the entire podcast. I feel like there's infinite possibilities
That
for
is true.
this
That
segment.
is very true. Alrighty. So kickstart our list with number 10. Do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
I say like I'll do my 10, then you do your 10, then I'll do my 9, then and didn't
All right.
you? I did put an honorable mention for Brubaker's Daredevil. I haven't finished it. Obviously, I'm in the middle of reading it, but it would be very high. It would
Yeah.
it would be insanely high. But I
Alrighty.
haven't finished it. My number 10 is Kang the Conqueror. Only myself left to conquer. This was
Okay.
a podcast read. This was when we were getting ready for Quantumania. It's a more recent. It was I believe made in either 2021 or 2022, and it's kind of it's a mini series about 6 issues or so that retells the origin kind of Kang the Conqueror and like his biggest moments in Marvel history. Um, but it's a modern comic and modern twist to it, and it's really really good. Just like if you don't know much about Kang and you want to learn about the character, it's really great. You see him through all stages of his life, through Nathaniel Richards, through Rama Tut, till he's actually Kang the Conqueror. It's just a really great book that kind of teaches you about Kang while also being entertaining as a story.
it kind of that when you explain that, it kind of reminds me of the Books of Doom, where it's kind of like that, where Books of Doom, it's like a mini series where it just tells the origin and Doctor Doom's story, essentially going all through his history and stuff like that, and just compacting it into like 4 issues, and it's really well done. So it sounds really cool. It's still something that I want to check out. So yeah. For my number 10, I got New Teen Titans Volume 1 by Marv Wolfman and George Perez.
Okay, okay.
Nice little oldie. I read this pretty early in the year, and obviously it's like super dated. But I really enjoyed it, especially with George Perez's artwork on it. I thought it was just phenomenal. Just it's the new Teen Titans, so they're kind of just bringing the band back together in a sense. There are some parts where the Beast Boy is getting a name change to, instead of Beast Boy, it's a Changeling.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, okay.
I don't think that stuck, did it?
I now think I think maybe for a bit in that time period, but I don't know. I don't
The
think so.
changeling. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, personally, I wouldn't change my name to the Changeling, but that's just me.
The changeling.
But I really liked it. There was just a lot of like, again, the main thing that really sticks out to me for this series was the artwork by George Perez was really really good. We get to, I think this is the introduction of Trigon too. We also get for the appearance of Deathstroke, and
Yeah.
something I didn't know, and the issue where Deathstroke first appears is New Teen Titans number 2, and on the cover, there's someone that's dressed like Deathstroke, but in reality, it's the person in the background who's actually Deathstroke, which I didn't know up until I read this issue, which was really good. I think his name was Ravager or something like that. Something like that. Uh, his motives to take down the Teen Titans was pretty funny because I think it was, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was something very very petty if I remember correctly. But it is the '80s, so nothing short of what was expected. Mainly the artwork too was really good. And that's just like something that's really stuck out to me, and something that I kind of want to finish reading. But I kind of just have to skim through volume 1, see like anything else I missed, or refresh my memory just a bit. But yeah, that's my number 10.
All right. My number 9 is Superman slash Shazam First Thunder.
Nice.
This was really solid. I wasn't like super into the art, but overall the story and the dialogue between Superman and Shazam is really good. And then especially that like later half gets, I
Yeah.
mean, it just gets serious quick and it's really emotional. And that was my favorite part, was just like it was like kind of an abrupt change of pace, like because it goes from kind of like a very fun, like just almost goofy comic with Superman and Shazam to like Billy Batson's best friend just got shot and killed. But they do it in a really great way. Like there's this full page spread with no text of like him just like mourning basically his best friend. It's really sad, but it's really like touching, and it's a really great comic. Yeah, definitely recommend that one to anyone that's either a Superman or Shazam fan. Like I said, the art was, I think, its biggest downfall, but overall, really, really good.
Yeah, it is. I would say personally, it's should be on an essential list if you want to reach Shazam, because you get both the interaction with Shazam as well as Superman, and it's just a great story overall. Personally,
Yeah.
all right, for my number 2, I got Absolute
Number
Carnage.
two? You mean
Oh,
number
number
nine?
2, number 9, yeah, number 9, number 9, number 9. I got Absolute Carnage, and when I say like Absolute Carnage, since that's like an event with tie-ins, I'm talking about like just the main story. I really like it, especially again, the artwork by Ryan Stegman was really solid in this. There was just a lot of panels that really just stood out to me. This, I wouldn't say it's a downfall, but it is something to note that this event only basically exists to set up King in Black in a sense. And even if there are more instances than none where when something happens just to set up another event, it tends to be like lackluster or like just there to be there just to set up the next event. And while this does only serve its purpose to set up the next event, I think it still does it very, very well.
Yeah, because like Crisis on Infinite Earths was basically like that, but it's still a great story.
Yeah.
Um, like I think you can. I do agree though that like most events that are doing something for just the purpose of like setting up something else or usually aren't good, but sometimes they are because as long as you tell a good story, then it doesn't matter as long as
Yeah.
there's a good story in there.
Yeah, and the story in Absolute Carnage was really, really good. I really liked it, and it kind of it made me want to read the tie-ins because I did read some of the tie-ins with like the main Venom run at the time by Donny Cates, which that run in and of itself was really good. So I kind of want to pick up the omnibus because I know the omnibus is like not even that big, uh, but
Uh,
with
the Venom Omnibus for
the
Donny Cates.
no, it was the
Oh, the
Absolute
Absolute
Carnage.
Carnage.
Yeah,
Okay,
it might be like just like a normal site, like nothing like gargantuan.
I'm not
Uh,
sure.
but yeah, it's really good, really solid, a really fun event. There's a lot of like horror elements to it as well because obviously uh, Carnage is in it and he does a really good job, and we see that like other members of the Avengers, Fantastic Four, and all that stuff.
Yeah. All right. Number 8. I have The Dark Knight Returns.
Oh, fair enough, fair enough.
The Dark Knight Returns. I both enjoyed reading it, but I also really appreciated it and what it's done for Batman and comics in general. I appreciated it while reading it, and I enjoyed myself. It was a good time. Like I said in our review, there's a lot of really great moments. Just feels very cinematic. Uh, and I mean, I think if you're gonna be a Batman fan, I do think you eventually have to read this one.
That's true. I do agree with that one.
Like, it's definitely worth the read, and even if you don't like fully enjoy it, like like you think it's overrated, but I think you'll at least still find good moments here and moments that you really appreciate and enjoy. So I think it's worth reading for everybody that is a Batman fan, and yeah, I definitely had a really great time reading it.
I had a slightly more enjoyable time reading it
There you
my
go.
third
Yeah.
time around. There's that, and once you read the Dark Knight Returns and read all the other Batman comics that follow it, like Year One, Long Halloween, all that stuff, you can see the influence it kind of had on the character of Batman and comic books in general.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, for my number 8, I got TMNT IDW Collection Volume One. So
I'll just spoil it now. My number 7 is also Team
oh,
NT
really?
IDW. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Awesome, sick, sick.
So we can kind of
Um,
both talk about it, I guess.
it's, I mean, I've never really been a TMNT guy when I was growing up. I've never been a TMNT kid. I kind of watched the Nickelodeon show, not the one you're watching, but like the 3D animated one.
2012, I think.
Yeah, I watched it here and there, but for some reason I just never like cared for it in a sense. But reading this series right now, and since this is an ongoing series, I've gotten more and more fond of the TMNT characters and all of that. And I don't know, it's just I really enjoyed the way they started this series, was just trying to find Raphael because he's missing from them, and then we get bits and pieces of things that just like got fleshed out throughout as the series has progressed, and the artwork was really great too. I really like the artwork. It's out of all the artists who's worked on this series, from what we've read so far, I would say it's the best in my opinion. It just resonates with, at least in my opinion, with characters more. I just like how they're drawn and like how they're stylized and everything.
Which artist?
The artist that was in the first volume, I forgot what their name was. Let me see. It just made me more of a TMNT fan. Like I'm excited for the Mutant Mayhem movie coming out soon. So
Yeah, I the reincarnation is slowly rotting away at me and making me dislike it more and more and more. But I'm not gonna take back anything I've said because like even if I don't like it, I don't think that necessarily means it's bad. Uh, and even with it, the storytelling is so good. Like the everything else is just so good. Like I think this is Hobbs' first appearance. I
I
hadn't
think
heard
so.
of him. He's such a great introduction. He's such a great character. Um, just like the dialogue between them is just perfect. Like between all the turtles and also between Splinter. Um, it's it's just a really fun series. Like as a Ninja Turtle fan, like there's that one aspect I don't like, but everything besides that I would say is pretty much perfect.
Yeah.
Like it's it's just really solid. I think
Yeah.
Volume 2 has been my favorite so far, though. That's the one with Slash. The first half has
Okay.
Slash, and the second half is when they go to Ultra Minion.
Gotcha. Yeah. I don't know. For like the second volume, I think I said this in the previous episode before, where I just found it not that I didn't like it, but that was pretty odd how they just went with just fighting with them without. They do question it a little bit, but they just like go about it and said that kind of shift. But even then, I still really like that part. And the what was it the way that the people, the resistance were like drawn was I thought it was
Yeah,
pretty.
they
I
were
thought
pretty goofy.
I thought they're very goofy, but I mean, Mikey has a lot of standout moments in that volume, which I really liked. Him trying to impress like the princess and everything. But yeah, so my number
Yeah,
seven,
might as well say you're seven because that TMNT was my
yeah,
seven.
my number seven was or is Deceased.
Ooh, okay.
Deceased. I really like this series. I know there's been several like spin-offs of it. I know there's Deceased. I have Deceased and Deceased Unkillables. I know there's uh there's like three other series, and I think it just ended earlier this year. And I'm just praying that they have an omnibus for it, because a Deceased omnibus I would buy instantly, because
They probably will.
I love the series a lot. It's very interesting seeing how they kind of use this aspect from Final Crisis, how to trans uh, give out the anti-life equation to everyone through like technology and stuff like that. And it's like a techno virus in a sense, and the artwork is really great. I love how it's very dynamic with the characters and how it embodies the the zombies in a sense, and it's really good. I really like the premise. I really like how it just doesn't really hold back on who survives and who dies. Um, I just think Tom Taylor's a really good writer, and this is one of my first stories I read of him that really cemented him as like one of my favorite writers. I know some people have kind of his, don't really like him as much right now because of his Nightwing run. Because I've been hearing his Nightwing run is kind of like okay as of right now at least. But I really liked it. I really enjoyed it, and I'm just praying for an omnibus for that.
Yeah, yeah. Deceased was really great. It's on my list.
Oh, is
It's on
it?
there. It's on there. It's on
Okay,
there.
okay, okay, okay.
My next is Miles Morales by Saladin Ahmed. I am probably not pronounced. I don't know. I feel bad, but um, just really solid, really fun. It's got some hit or miss artwork, but it's got the best clone saga I've ever read in a Spider-Man story, which isn't saying much. And to be fair, the Clone Saga isn't even really that great here, but it's probably the weakest part of the run. But overall, it's a very fun Miles Morales run. The writer has a really great voice for Miles. There's some really some really interesting arcs. They have a multiversal arc where, Miles is obviously always tied with the multiverse. So
Yeah.
they have one arc where he's going throughout the multiverse looking for Uncle Aaron. But I would say one of my favorite aspects, it's tough to pick. It's a pretty long run. Miles has really great interactions with the Rhino here. They kind
Okay.
of work together a couple times, and seeing
Nice.
that is really great. And there's also a couple issues with Taskmaster that I really loved that include the Vulture's granddaughter. She's a whole she's kind of her own superhero here. I don't know if it's her first appearance, but um she's really great. And her and Miles kind of have a relationship. Uh I love that aspect. I don't know why I'm dying right now. But yeah, those are kind of my favorite parts of it, and definitely highly recommend it for any Miles Morales fan.
I haven't read any Miles Morales yet, and I plan on changing that right after I finish She-Hulk right now. I'm just about to finish She-Hulk, and I might just jump into that Miles Morales Spider-Man next.
Yeah.
All right, so my number 6 is the New 52 Shazam.
Ooh, okay.
So I'm pretty sure this was my first introduction to Shazam in the comics at least, and reread it, or at least I did, in the beginning of
You
the
and I,
year.
this was something you and I both read.
Okay, yeah.
The New 52 Shazam.
Okay, yeah, I remember now. I just when we reread it, it's just solid for me. I really like Shazam. He's one of my favorite characters, and rereading it, and after seeing like the first Shazam movie, it's almost like beat for beat from the comic, which I really appreciate them doing. Obviously, except for the ending and stuff like that, which it would have been cool to see in the first Shazam movie, but I'm so happy about it. And we get this like new vision of Billy, him being like kind of like an asshole kid, and
Yeah.
then like throughout the
I forgot
and
about that.
to say the least,
He's
to
an
say the
asshole. Isn't he?
and
Yeah.
if you thought Billy was an asshole in the movies, just read the comics. He's like 10 times more of a douche, and I just really like how his character slowly but surely progresses throughout the comic, and how he deals with his powers and all that. Gary Frank's artwork in this was really solid. Jeff Johnson's like one of my favorite writers of all time. He's really great with it, and the sequel series to this was also very, very solid. But I don't know, the first one really resonates with me for it being my first Shazam comic, and also again beat for beat from what the movie was. And I just how I like the character dynamics, the introduction of the Shazam family, and all of that, and how they play their own part at the end. It's just really good. I like it a lot.
Yeah. um, I really enjoyed it when I read it for the podcast. I remember the one part that I always remember is when he's fighting Black Adam and he's in the grocery store and has a panel and it just shows the lights kind of flicker off. I always just really like that
Yeah.
part. um, it's kind of like a oh shit moment. Like
Yeah.
Black Adam's about to kick your ass.
Right.
Um, this was the toughest one for me to rank. My number this is wait 10. This is my number five. Number five was Flashpoint.
Okay.
This was tough for me to rank because like I think the movie is better in literally every way. So like when I read it, that was kind of in the back of my mind, but I had to put it here because I love the Flashpoint story, and this is when it was first told. Like I have to respect that. Like
Yeah.
the Flashpoint movie wouldn't exist without this comic, so I have to really respect that. And it's even like saying the movie's better. The comic is still like awesome. I think like
Yeah.
it's still I still love it. I would watch the movie. Like I'll never reread it, but I will continue to watch that movie probably many, many, many more times throughout my life because it's really good. So yeah, had to put it here. great, one of the best events in comics, I would say, and gotta respect it. Gotta put it at the number
Yeah.
5 spot.
So, like you said, how you don't intend on rereading it. This is like my 6th or 7th time rereading Flashpoint, and
Is it your last?
it's definitely. I thought reading it before the podcast was gonna be my last, but obviously reread it for the podcast. So now this is the last time I'm reading it because I still think it's good. Like you said, it's still a really good comic, and I appreciate what it did and how it was basically, even though it happened in the middle of the creation of this comic series, how it restarted the DC universe to give us the New 52, and however successful the New 52 was for anyone, it still happened, and it was still a great jumping on point for a lot of new readers. So you still got to appreciate that aspect of it, and I don't know. I'm just speaking from my experience, but I think this is a pretty decent, not an awful jumping on point for the Flash, because
Yeah,
this was like my first Flash comic that I read, and I got the gist of it essentially,
you don't.
and
Yeah, you don't need to know anything before this.
yeah,
Like you can read this without having read any Flash and get it. Like, don't. It might like no. I was thinking about that. You know that 2-page spread where it's kind of showing the New 52.
yeah,
That not even that would really be confusing. I mean, it's just good artwork. You can just kind of enjoy it. I don't know, but this is definitely a good jumping on point. I agree.
yeah. So this was my introduction to Barry Allen's Flash. So I do like it a lot. That's the story point, and as like this being an introduction to the Flashpoint universe, and also as for Barry Allen as the Flash. I am I'm sick of it. I'm sick. I am sick of it. I do like the movie. I wouldn't say I like it more than the comic, but I do
Really?
like the.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a really big. I have beef with the designs of the characters and how grossly enormous their traps are, especially
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
Superman. They're like super disproportionate. But I would have preferred. I'm kind of like back and forth with Eobard Thawne's death, whether him getting shot in the head or getting stabbed through the chest with. I think it
I think they're
was.
both pretty great.
Yeah. So either way, they're both pretty cool death scenes because in the movie it's really shocking because it happens out of nowhere. Same thing with the comic, but it's kind of more badass since like it's just Thomas Wayne Batman like stabbing a sword
Yeah.
through him. So here and there, but overall, yeah,
I
I like
do
it.
think it gave us one of the like not kidding the best moments in all of comics at the very end
Oh yeah,
when Flash gives Bruce the letter from his dad. I think that is like one of the best moments in all of comics. Like
I agree.
no joke. Uh and then like you said, I love the Flashpoint universe. They recently came out with DC made the Flashpoint Beyond. That was like last year or maybe even
Yeah,
this year. I want to read that. The universe as a whole is really interesting. So
very true, very true. Alrighty, what's this number 4 now?
I think you're on your number 5. Flashpoint was my number 5.
Oh, was it?
What's your number 5?
Shazam was my number 5. So I guess we're on number 4 now.
All right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What's your number 4?
My number 4 is Man of Steel by John Byrne, Volume 1.
I need to read that.
So it is a 6-issue. It was a 6-issue miniseries at first, but then they made a whole series out of it. I really liked it a lot because this is post Crisis on Infinite Earth, new origin for Superman, and I really like it. I like how they encapsulate the image of Superman in this. I like how they like his suit, just the way John Byrne draws Superman as a whole it's really really iconic, and in my opinion, my Superman, the way I like picture Superman in the comic is John Burns essentially, and I don't know. I hear a lot of people don't like it, at least in like later the series progresses. There's like I don't know. It's mainly on Twitter, so I don't know the validity of their arguments because it is Twitter. but a lot of people don't like how it is later on. And like whenever DC tweets out, here's a good jumping on point for Superman, you want to get to know Superman, check out Man of Steel by John Byrne, and everyone's like, no, no, don't. I'm like,
Well,
I don't see the issue.
there's always going to be haters.
Yeah, very true.
Always going to be naysayers. But
Yeah,
I've heard pretty much nothing but good things about it. I need to read it.
yeah, it's really good. You can basically just like you can, if you don't want to read the whole series, you can just read the first volume and just get the gist of it. Uh, Again, it's really really good. I really liked it. I want to read the next volume soon, but I have just like huge library of like things I want to read before school starts. So I
Yeah.
got to pick and choose wisely. But I really like it. It's like a really good jumping on point, or one of, because Superman has like a lot of great jumping on points, and this is one of them. I really like it. The artwork's great. Again, this is from, I think, the 80s, mid to late 80s, maybe early 90s, but I'm pretty sure it's a mid to late 80s. So you get that type of dialogue. If uh, that doesn't, you know, turn off anyone or anything, but it's really really good. Just a great encapsulation of Superman. There's just one panel that I look at from time to time where I think it's Superman either not fighting or trying to stop a tornado or some like super not supernatural but natural disaster, and like the narration was just basically perfectly embodies like the character of Superman, which I really like. And yeah, it's number 4.
All right. My number 4 is Deceased.
Nice. Okay.
Uh, what's funny is my number 3, I actually have a lower rating for Deceased. Like I gave Deceased a 5-star, and I stand by that. But I'll get to that later. But I don't know. I think Deceased is like, in a world where we have way too many zombie stories and an overabundance of zombie stuff. This was one that really stuck out to me, and it's like it's not. I don't know. Just like that scene. If I was to like try and tell someone what Deceased is in one scene, it would be the scene with Superman and Pa Kent.
Yeah.
Like when he just like he can't kill him, and it just like really, I don't know. It's like an actual touching zombie story that you also can't see where it's going to go. Like every time I kind of thought, like, once they're all in, where are they all at when they're all planning? Uh,
Uh
the Fortress of Solitude.
yeah.
Once they're all in the Fortress of Solitude, like, it's kind of like, oh, okay, like they're kind of, they're getting it together and they're about to save the day, but that's actually when everything just like breaks loose and becomes
Yep.
worse.
Much worse.
So that was, I love that about it. Like you really, I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. I didn't know where the story was going to
Yeah.
go, and it's just it's well written, and yeah. So Deceased, my number 4.
Praying for an omnibus, man, or at least like an absolute edition of Deceased would,
That would be cool.
that'd be really sick.
They're getting
Alrighty.
the deluxe is coming out in October. Deluxe hardcover.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, deluxe hardcovers on October.
I'm about to get that. My number 3 is Essex County by Jeff Lemire.
Okay.
So
I don't know
I
anything about it. Give me the rundown.
it's with Jeff Lemire. He is at this moment my favorite writer of all time right now. He does like a lot of slice of life stories where it just focuses on either a person or a family and just goes through whatever turmoil either the person or the family is going through. And with Essex County, it's almost regarded as one of Jeff Lemire's best works. And I know they made a TV series out of it, but it's only airing in Canada, which kind of sucks, but also makes sense because it is based in Canada. So I'll give it some leeway right now with it. But it's just, there's like different like little sections of it. It's a slice of life story, but has 4 different sections about different characters where you would assume they have nothing to do with each other, but as you read, you can pick up on like little connections here and there and how they do connect with each other in the overall story. It's really good. It's a really good, like, realistic, real world graphic novel, and I don't know. I just like it a lot. Jeff Lemire is a really good writer for me. He also does the artwork, and a lot of people don't like his artwork because of how scratchy it is. But I personally really like it. I think it fits the narrative story he's telling in most of his uh, slice of life comics.
Hmm. Interesting. Okay.
Very nice, very nice.
My number three, like I said, Deceased was a 5 star, and this is a 4.5. But I still have it ahead. That's why I think I don't know. I can know that something's better, but still enjoy something that is technically not as good
Yeah.
more, if that makes any sense. But my number three is Annihilation.
Okay.
Um, I loved we read Annihilation Conquest on the podcast. Actually, I gave it a 5 star at the time. I think I'd bring it back to 4.5 because I think it's like just as good as Annihilation. I think they're like the reason I gave Conquest a little bit higher is because I do think the mini series there are better. It
Yeah.
has less of them, and I think they're better. But as a whole event, I prefer Annihilation. It's like it's everything an event should be. To be fair, both of them are. Like
Yeah.
Annihilation and Annihilation, like Conquest, are just as good as each other, and they're kind of both here. I'm just highlighting Annihilation, but they're everything an event should be. They are also, I think, really important because they reintroduce and revitalize so many of the Marvel cosmic characters and like Nova, Ronan, Drax. Drax wasn't who he was until this. They through Conquest and also Annihilation, we got the Guardians of the Galaxy pretty much. Um, like these events were really important to like the current Marvel, both cosmic comics and also the MCU. Like
Yeah.
we wouldn't have a lot of what we have now without these two events, and they're really great. Obviously, the highlight for me was Nova. He's become one of my favorite just characters in general after reading these two comics, and yeah, they're really epic events that I think everyone should check out.
Yeah. Definitely. Fun fact: Conquest is indeed in my list.
Okay, like I put Annihilation over it, but like they're really like on the same level. They're both so great in my opinion.
Yeah.
I just think that I don't know, that first time I read Annihilation was really special, and so I'll put it at number three.
Alrighty. Um, I don't know if I got my numbering wrong. Well, I'm pretty sure I did, but I keep I said my number three was Essex County, but on my
Yeah.
list is number four. So I think I just messed up my numbering on it. So this is my number three.
Okay.
This is my number. Essex County is number four. This is my number three, and it is Batman: Kings of Fear.
Ooh, I saw you talk about this one. I need to read this. The art looks so good.
It is so good. The artwork's by Kelly Jones, like very iconic Batman artist for the '90s and early 2000s, and I really like it. A lot of the Batman imagery in this comic are some of like the best I've seen in a really, really long time. Basically, it's Batman and versus Scarecrow, but it's really like a psychological trip into like the psyche of Batman, and Scarecrow's basically a shrink, and they kind of make fun. They kind of like poke fun at like how like that's happening in the series, and it's really really good. And I think they said something about the validity of what Batman's doing and how he's fighting crime, but it still happens regardless if he defeats someone. And at the end, I feel like it kind of dragged on just a little bit, but one of the nurses who works at, I think it was Arkham, was saying how her husband was used to be like a not a villain, but like a criminal in a sense. And then once they encountered Batman, they literally got so scared of Batman they just went from a life of crime to like a perfectly normal and stable life. And now how that happens a lot, and that kind of shows like gives Batman like a sense of reassurance about like what he's doing is actually having an effect of it, regardless of the big villains popping up all the time. The smaller criminals, like the very very street level, like petty thugs, stuff like that, are actually so afraid of Batman that they'll changed their whole lifestyle because of it. And I think it's a really good deconstruction of what Batman does, and also like his like psychological aspect of it.
Yeah, I need to check that out. That art looks really good.
So good.
My number 2 was or is Spider Geddon.
Spider Geddon.
My
Okay.
number
Okay.
2 is Spider Geddon. Um, I don't know. This was just like some of the most fun I've had with a comic in a long, long, long time. Like it's nothing profound. It's nothing like, you know, it's gonna get you thinking really. It was just really, really fun. And I don't know what else to say besides that. Obviously I loved Spider's Man.
Spider's Man needs to be in Beyond the Spider Verse.
Spider's Man was really good. Like the villains are Morlun and the other whatevers, the
Oh my,
inheritors. They
oh
aren't they aren't
god.
they aren't important. I think they're just really just they're just there to be bad guys and nothing more, because this story doesn't really need it. It's the main focus is the Spider-Man, Spider-Women's,
Yep.
and it's just super fun.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's all you have to say for it, honestly. It's like it's just such a great time, especially if you're like a Spider-Man fan. Spider Geddon was what was the other one? There was one before this one, right? It,
Spider-Verse is before this. We didn't read Spider-Verse.
yeah.
We just read Spider-Geddon.
Yeah, and you can still read Spider Geddon, and you still get the gist of what's happening. Essentially,
Yeah.
it's still a great standalone. But again, if you're a Spider-Man fan, this is like something you have to read because it encapsulates a bunch of different Spider people, especially Spider's Man, which
Yeah.
super
Spider's Man.
underrated.
Yeah.
Super, super underrated. I love that guy. All right, so
Your number
oh,
2?
funny enough, actually, before I say my number 2, after I read Spider Verse and a while back, and I hated the Inheritors a lot. Obviously, I don't like the Inheritors or Morlun. Terrible. So I was like, okay, let me read a Spider-Man story that doesn't involve any of them. So I went to read J. Michael Straczynski's run on it, Volume 1. Uh, apparently, this is this guy's first appearance or something.
Yeah, I
And
was
so I was
about to
like,
say JMS created Morlun.
and I saw him like the final page. I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. So yeah, that's a little tidbit right there. But for my number 2 is Annihilation Conquest. This is probably all in all my favorite Marvel event right now. As of right now, it's so good. I love
Yeah.
it a lot. It's like you said, it's what an event should be. It has tie-ins, but like they're essential for the storyline. We get Star Lord, we get what's her name? Phyla Vel.
Yeah.
We get do we get Nova in this, or was that just Annihilation?
We get Nova in this as well.
I feel like I'm
And I
missing one
believe
more.
there's one more.
Oh, duh, Wraith.
Oh, yes, of course. Of
The
course.
best
Wraith,
guy,
Wraith,
like
Wraith.
the best
Wraith.
Marvel character ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't believe he was blanking on Wraith.
The best one.
Yeah, yeah,
Actually, no, that's Nova. That's Nova. That's Nova. That's Nova.
my best one. We did the ranking on the episode. The best
Yeah.
one was easily Wraith.
Yeah.
Wraith
Yeah.
is Wraith is such a badass. Even though he gets like undercarriage in the main series, which
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah. The main
But
series, he just gets thrown to the side.
criminal. But this is just it's a lot of fun. It's a great event. There's a lot of twists and turns. It basically just starts right off the bat. We get them trying to recuperate after the annihilation wave, but then nope. Immediately the was it the Axelon?
The Phalanx.
The Phalanx. I don't know why I said Axelon. Oh, it's because I was reading Justice League Odyssey, and like the Axelon are like the entities that eat or like devour the new gods. So I don't know why I got those two mixed up.
Similar names. Similar names.
So, the Phalanx is really cool. The person who controls everything, the twist. I won't say it if anyone hasn't read it yet. I just want to go in blind. Was a really good twist, even though he's in the cover of like every.
Yeah, I was about to say, good luck. Good luck. Not finding out who that is.
It's funny because when I first read this, I was it? I had the trade paperback of it, and Ultron was in the cover, like on his throne and everything. And then when they revealed it was Ultron, I was like, "What?" As if it was on the cover. So it was pretty funny. But Ultron is great in this. Um, I really like Ultron. He's super underrated. I'm trying to find a good Ultron to read because I did read Age of Ultron in the comics, and I hated that. But now in Conquest was just it's so good. I loved it a
It's so
lot.
good. I agree. I
So
agree.
good.
I think my reasoning for bumping it from 5 to 4.5 is I think the Phyla-Vell miniseries isn't that good. The art's really good. The art's
Yeah.
really good. But and then I don't know, in the main series, there's there's a lot going on in the main series, and I think sometimes it's like a bit much. You've got the
Mhm.
high evolutionary, you've got Adam Warlock, you've got Ultron, you've got the Phalanx, you've got there's just kind of a lot going on, but still overall, it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I was a little iffy on like the Adam Warlock Ultron hybrid at the end. I thought it was cool, but I was like kind of like jumping the shark just a little bit.
yeah. Also, Wraith is just straight up a plot point in the
Mm.
main series, like
Yeah.
literally, and it just
Yeah.
kind of feels like the way they defeat him feels very like just forced, and it's like we have to find a way to defeat
Yeah.
him that like kind of makes sense. So, yeah.
But his main series was amazing. Better
True,
than Nova.
true, true. No, no, no. You because it didn't have it in whatever collection you read. Also, you didn't get to read the stuff with Cosmo.
Yeah. Or like the New Mutants. What was it the big weird things that
Yeah,
were
yeah, yeah. The warlock. I forget his name. I forget
yeah
his name. He's like a
Warlike
big
Prime or
gold,
something.
like
Yeah,
he looks like a transformer or something. I forget his name.
exactly.
I think he's an X-Men.
Yeah,
Maybe.
he's in New Mutants, I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
He's a really great character too. He talks weird. Uh
I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah,
And I was really upset that I was like when I finished, I was like, I feel like I'm missing something. I was like,
yeah.
I missed that whole plot.
Yeah. Um yeah, great stuff. All right, my number 1.
Number one.
Um it's not even close really. Like it's miles ahead of everything else.
Okay.
Um is Daredevil by Brian Michael Bendis. It is
Okay.
just this was a reread for me. I think everything else was my first time reading. This was my only reread on the list, and it is far and ahead my number 1. I wanted to reread it so that I could reread Brubaker's run, and I mean it's pretty much perfect. Like I know I haven't read it yet. I know Frank Miller's Daredevil really kind of like The Dark Knight Returns, really reinvented the character of Daredevil, and the influence has like been seen ever since. But from what I understand, like so did Bendis's run. It very much changed the course of Daredevil, and the art is the perfect mood setter. Although sometimes the like finer details, like the faces, can look sometimes really weird.
Okay.
I believe the artist's last name is Malev. He's a pretty well known artist.
Yeah, I know what you're
He's
talking
done a
about.
lot of comic book art, but like it's almost perfect. There's one arc, if you've read it, you know it's basically this big giant group therapy session that I still think is really good, but it gets really weird. There's some
Okay.
really 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 weird parts in there. Um, but it also contains, I would say, the best moment. Daredevil gives a speech to like just these random people in this therapy group, and he basically explains to them why there's a devil in Hell's Kitchen, and it's like a badass
It
speech,
sounds
dude.
cool. It sounds cool.
You see, I don't even want to say anything. I don't want to. If you haven't read it, you've got to read it. But some of the best Wilson Fisk moments, like of all time, in here. Um, yeah, just perfection pretty much for Daredevil. And I would pretty much say the same thing for Brubaker's run. His is pretty much perfect too. Um, so yeah, that's definitely my number 1.
Alrighty. My number one. It was kind of hard choosing between this or Nash and Conquest, but I don't know. This one just hits differently. It's going to be Beta Ray Bill by Daniel Warren Johnson. And this takes place after the events of I think somewhere in the beginning of Donny Cates' Thor run, where spoiler alert if you guys haven't read that, basically Thor destroys Mjolnir, and this whole story is about Beta Ray Bill trying to find another weapon for him to revert back to normal, essentially, because everyone sees Beta Ray Bill. He has like this horse face. He's huge, muscular, but his normal face, he's just a blob. Like his face has no like details other than like just his eyes and his mouth. That's it, and that's his normal form. But since he is in like his horse form, he hates how he looks in his horse form, and he's like, very insecure about it. And we get Beta Ray Bill, his ship Scuttlebutt. Who else? What's the and Thor Ragnarok, the guy with the machine guns. Oh,
Scourge.
So we get Beta Ray Bill, Scourge, Scuttlebutt, his ship, Pip the Troll. I think that's it. And they're just on this mission to find this weapon for Beta Ray Bill so he can transform back to his normal self. And it's not necessarily like when I was reading this at first, I would have assumed that throughout this journey he goes to try to find his, make peace for like his looks, and it's gonna be like this whole message about how you should be comfortable with how you look in the outside and shouldn't change to something else or whatever. But it's not that. He gets what he wants essentially, and
Okay.
I mean it's a happy ending, but he just doesn't like that form at all because he does have like a relationship with Sif, and Sif they're about to get it on, but then like Sif was like saying like what's waiting for him to like transform back to his normal self, and she was like, oh yeah, I can't do this, and it's like he just got like
Poor Beta Ray, dude.
he got completely cucked essentially. But the artwork is really really great and unique. There's huge panels of just like showing Surtur and then Beta Ray Bill and everything, and just like how like everything's detailed, everything's illustrated. It's very solid, very unique, very detailed, and it's very colorful too during some scenes. And I just think it's like such a great story to read, especially with like a more or less of like a character study of Beta Ray Bill, like how he is as a character. Because I know uh, he has another miniseries from like the early 2000s, but I think that's it. So it's just like having a comic book just focused on Beta Ray Bill with this struggle he's facing and like the adventure he has with all these characters to Muspelheim is just really, really good, really great. And it is a reread of mine, but it's the best that I read
Yeah.
of Marvel recently.
Yeah. I've seen some of the artwork. It looks amazing.
It's great. I mean, Daniel Warren Johnson has released a lot of other stuff that has met with the same amount of praise, if not more, than Beta Ray Bill, and I kind of want to check out more of his stuff.
Yeah. All right. So that's our top 10 of the first half of 2023.
Yeah.
Now we're going to do a brand new segment called This or That. This actually goes against a lot of the stuff I say. I kind of get annoyed about how everyone has to compare everything nowadays and like pick what's better. But I mean, it's fun.
Yeah.
like it's still fun to do.
Yeah.
So we'll do this. This will be a segment we'll do, reoccurring
Yep.
every now and then. But the first one I've got is not comic book related,
Okay.
but it is this one I made specifically for you. This one is,
Okay.
although I can definitely answer here because I've, but I had to do this one just for you. God of War 2018 or God of War Ragnarok?
Ragnarok.
That was a quick answer.
Yeah. Easy Ragnarok. Ragnarok easily.
Okay.
Ragnarok was like the first game I've ever pre-ordered in my entire life.
Really?
Yeah. So I was super hyped about this game because it was like last year. Yeah, it was last year. early last year, where I got PS4. I was like contemplating whether or not to get God of War. I was like, all right, it's only $20 right now. I'll get God of War. So and then I religiously played that game, and then I beat the Valkyrie Queen, which took me forever.
Dude, she's so tough in that first game. Oh my god, that's one of the
Yeah.
most I've ever raged in my life.
I was literally sitting there for 3 hours straight trying to defeat the Valkyrie Queen, and I finally did it. But it was the storyline was really good. I didn't know that much about God of War before, and ever since that game came out, watched gameplay of like the original trilogy and stuff like that, and then I was like, damn, I'm like, what? Because it ends like for like Ragnarok, like setting up for Ragnarok. I was like, damn, I wonder when the sequel is coming out. I was like, oh, it's coming out later this year. So I don't have to wait like what 4 years like the other people did when the first game first came out. So I was like, all right, cool. So I immediately pre-ordered the game, and I kind of regret this, but when I was playing the game, I was very reluctant on not seeing any spoilers for this game, like at all. So I kind of like speed run the game in a sense.
Eh, I don't think that's a bad idea. Like, I get that.
Yeah,
Like, what I did because like God of War Ragnarok was my number one game of 2022. Like, uh, when stuff like that comes out, God of War, like where it's very story focused, like a video game like that, where it's something obviously like it's not like a movie where you're gonna go see it and you've seen it. Like
yeah,
I genuinely won't go on social media until I've beat it, and that way I don't really have to rush myself. I know for us, obviously, like we post stuff, but like back then, like I was making tweets for my Twitch account and whatnot. I would go on there, tweet, and then like get off. Like I just didn't look at
yeah.
anything. I know that's tough though, but I'd give it to Ragnarok too. Um, although I do very, very, very slightly prefer the story in God of War number 2018. I
Okay,
just like
fair enough.
it's a more tight knit story about Kratos and Atreus,
Yeah,
and God of War Ragnarok is more larger scale, more epic, and it has more badass moments. Um, but I pick Ragnarok because the gameplay is just better.
yeah,
it's just a better video game.
yeah.
So yeah,
How long did it take you to beat the Valkyrie Queen in Ragnarok?
I think I did it on my first try. I did do it on my first try.
What?
Yeah.
It took me 3 weeks to beat the
In
Valkyrie Queen.
Ragnarok, I beat her first
Yeah.
try.
What?
To be
It was
fair, I can't. It was like the last thing I did. The second to last thing I did for my platinum.
that
So like
that
I
that was like the last thing I did for my platinum, like bar none. I saved the queen for the very very last, and then it took me 3 weeks to do it. I was like watching all types like the videos, like what's
really.
the best setup, best runic attacks to do, and I was like, I couldn't do it for like three
I've
weeks.
this is like I'm not even trying to be cocky because like I've found this out through streaming Dark Souls. I think I'm good at video games. Like to be fair, I've played them my entire life. But like I was streaming Dark Souls and like people were coming in the chat like that were like longtime Dark Souls fans, and they're like, "Dude, like you're way too good at this. Like, are you sure it's your first time playing?" So like maybe I'm good at games. I don't know. Maybe it's the one thing in life I'm good at is playing video games. But I beat
Yeah.
her first try.
Alrighty. Now it's
I
time for
remember that I beat her first try because I was in the party with one of my friends where it
okay.
also took him forever. And when I beat her, he wasn't even happy. He was like, "What the fuck, dude?" He was like,
Yeah. I would have done the same. The same.
he's like, "That took me forever."
That's so
Uh,
funny.
all
Alrighty.
right. Yeah, okay,
Mine
actually, you give me this or that now.
most of mine are like super like either basic or just dumb.
I like that. I like that. I like that.
Number one, would you rather read an omnibus or an absolute edition?
Absolute, 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 absolute.
Me too. Yeah, me too. It's just the premium format to have a comic in.
Dude, absolute. I wish Marvel did them. I wish
I
Marvel
know.
made absolutes. They make those stupid treasury editions, and those things suck.
Yeah,
They're
they're terrible.
terrible.
Yeah. And it's just like it's
Um,
like for artwork like I because mainly people or like DC publishes like absolutely just because of the artwork, mainly because of the artwork. Like was it Dark Knight's Metal got an absolute edition, and a lot of people like are like kind of iffy on the story, but it's mainly because of Greg Capullo's artwork in it. That's just really something you need to like see in like the biggest format possible in that.
They're coming out. I haven't even read it, and I still might buy it. The Court of Owls Absolute. I
Yeah, I'm
I
getting that.
might have to buy it.
I'm gonna get it. It's so good. I love the Court of Owls. It's so good.
I have not read it, and I might still buy it. Okay, that's a good one though. That's a good one. This is, I think, the most basic one you can do, but
Okay.
it's still a fun one. And I think I know both of our answers. Marvel or DC?
um. Oh, um.
I didn't think you were going to struggle here. I thought you would know right away.
Whenever, because on the Marvel Unlimited and the DC Universe Infinite app, I have like different like or not different, but like I have different storylines or like events saved on both apps. I'm kind of just like
Same.
doing like straight Marvel, like read 3 Marvel titles and then 3 DC titles, and I love them so both equally. Uh, but given the statistics on my League of Comic Geeks app, it's DC by a lot.
I will also say this question, I mean everything. All live action movies, video games, everything you can think of,
Oh,
Marvel or DC. All of it.
DC.
Okay, I
Yeah,
thought you were
DC.
going to have to go DC.
I mean, like, we got Dark Side here. Let's go, DC.
Yeah, I love that about this podcast because you're DC and I'm the Marvel guy.
Yeah.
I'm picking Marvel, but I mean, this is another this or that where like there's no wrong answer. They're both awesome.
Yeah.
I thought I had to ask Marvel or DC. So
My next one is almost the same exact one, but a little different. But would you okay this or that? Only read Marvel or only read DC?
damn, that sucks. I would definitely pick only read Marvel, but like, damn, it would suck to never be able to read DC again.
Yeah, I'm going DC all the way.
Yeah, yeah.
Easy.
That's tough though. That's tough. That would hurt
Yeah.
because like Superman is my second favorite character ever. Like I have a lot of really great just Superman memories in general. That would suck to never be able to read him again. But anything for Spider Man.
That's true.
Okay, this is this or that that's been asked throughout the ages of comic books, and
Okay.
this again, you can use all mediums of media.
Okay.
Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery or Batman's Rogues Gallery?
Oh man. Dude, I don't know. Uh, damn. I'm gonna have to go with Batman's Rogues Gallery.
Okay. Okay. I'll say this. I think they're obviously the best two rogues galleries in comics.
Yeah.
Um, but I think Spider-Man elevates his rogues gallery and Batman's rogues gallery elevates Batman. Like Spider-Man makes his rogues gallery
Yeah.
better, but Batman's rogues gallery is so good that it makes Batman a better character. So that's why I would put
I can
Batman's
see that.
rogues gallery above Spider-Man's.
Yeah, I can totally see that. I mean, with one of the comics that I was just discussing on for our top 10, Scarecrow kind of like goes into like a deep analysis of Batman, and then there like makes
Yeah.
him realize like what he does and stuff like that. So without Scarecrow, he would have, I guess, he wouldn't have done that in a sense, or came to that conclusion, or whatever. I know, but I do agree that the villains make Batman great.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's a tough question, but
Yeah. All right, another
so we both went Batman's rogues gallery? Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
another super the basic of the most basic. This or that. Batman or Superman?
Superman.
Me too.
Superman.
Yeah, easily. And this is in
It's
terms
gonna
of
make people
like,
mad.
I know, because whenever I say that I prefer Superman over Batman, there everyone's just like why? Because Batman's cooler, because he's Batman, whatever. But I don't know. I just like Superman stories a lot better than Batman's.
I wouldn't like. I think I do prefer Batman stories over Superman's. The reason I'd pick Superman over Batman is Superman is like the most inspiring, hopeful character of
Yeah,
all time, in my opinion, and I just really value that. Like, I think for me, Batman has the better stories throughout just everything. Like, but as a character, I just gotta pick Superman.
yeah, yeah. I agree. I mean, just looking at my list, I already have like a Batman comic above a Superman comic for the top 10 list. So Batman
I
comics are
mean,
like I do like Batman comics a lot, but it's kind of like what you said. Superman as a character and like how he inspires and how he not only inspires like the reader but also inspires a lot of the characters in that comic is makes me prefer Superman over Batman. Batman does have the better stories, but I do like a lot of the Superman stories, and they're like I think they're some of them are really underrated. Same thing with Batman, but I feel more hopeful after reading a Superman story, as
yeah,
cheesy as that sounds.
it's true. It's true. It's just
Yeah.
who he is. Okay, this is my favorite one I came up with.
Okay.
The Amazing Spider-Man 1 theme or the Amazing Spider-Man 2 theme?
Number two.
It, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I think this is the toughest one for me.
Okay.
Was it what made you pick number 2?
I don't know. I feel like for number two, it just makes it more. I feel there's just something more to the theme in volume two than there is in not volume two, but like in number two. But then
Yeah.
there was number one.
Number two's theme is like more heroic and
Yeah.
upbeat and makes me want to go beat up some criminals. But number number one just makes me want to be a better person. It just it makes me want to it makes me want to it inspires me to be with great power because it's I got to go with number 1.
All right.
I wish they would have used both themes in No Way Home though. That sucked. I like
Yeah.
both movies themes, and yeah, I wish we could have gotten to hear both in No Way Home. But yeah,
Fair enough. Alrighty. So my next one revolves around digital comics.
okay.
Would you rather read your digital comic on your phone or on a desktop?
Oh, I would hate both. Oddly enough, I think I'd pick my phone.
Fair enough.
I would hate to sit at my desk and read a comic. I think I would hate that. At least if I'm on my phone, I can like get in bed and like read it, but like I'd be like squinting at the damn screen.
Yeah.
Could barely see anything, but what about you? Which would you rather read?
I do both.
Do you?
I do. When at least when I do it more when I'm in school and class where like I have my laptop, pretend I'm doing notes, but I have like Comixology, Marvel Unlimited, Disney Universe Unlimited, or Infinite, or whatever on my computer. I just read it on my laptop, or there are sometimes when I'm at home, I go on my desktop and just read a comic on my desktop.
Really?
Yeah. I mainly read it on my iPad, but if between the phone or a desktop, I do like reading it on both. Like just before like the podcast, I was reading She-Hulk on my phone.
On the phone.
On
That's
the
funny.
phone. So I mean, just speaking on convenience, I just go with phone. but I do like doing both.
I would read it on my phone. I don't think I would ever read it on my desktop, but I would read it on my phone if like under, certain circumstances.
Yeah.
Here's my final one. This is the one I'll get the most amped up about if you disagree.
Okay.
Batman or Daredevil? Not who would win in a fight, by the way.
Okay.
Just who do you prefer as a character? Batman or Daredevil?
Batman.
No! No.
Batman.
No. My boy Matt on top.
I would say I choose Batman mainly because I like him better as a character. But I have read more of Batman than I have of Daredevil. I've read a good chunk of Chip Zdarsky's run on Daredevil, which I really, really liked. I read volume 1 of Brian Michael Bendis's Daredevil run, and I think that's it. That's all I read.
Daredevil. I'll say this. Spider-Man is my favorite character of all time.
Okay.
And Superman, I already said, is my second favorite character of all time. But I think Daredevil is the best character in comics.
Okay.
He's the best character in all of comics.
All of comics.
Or okay, at least in Marvel and DC. At least in Marvel and DC, he's the best character.
Okay. Yeah, Batman for me. I mean, my opinion might change once I read more Daredevil comics. But as of right now, at least from whenever I think of Batman, I don't really think about what's going on currently, like his current runs or anything like recently within the past like 5 or 10 years or whatever. I usually kind of base my definition of Batman from like the 80s and 90s because that's what I'm in the early 2000s. Because those were like the Batman comics I read the most and that I liked the most. Because I don't know if you saw, but there in like a recent happened a couple months ago where Batman is like I think he's in orbit and he crash lands on Earth and just
that was Zdarsky's.
Yeah.
And
I was like, what? I was like, how?
I can get on board with that.
He had nothing. He had nothing. I was like, what? How can you survive a fall from orbit and crash land on the ground and just get up and just walk away?
Dude, you would love Mark Waid's World's Finest.
I know. Everyone's saying it's so great and
so good, dude.
I know. I gotta check it out sometime. Hopefully soon. But I think once like I know the first trade paperback's out, but
here I say we do this once it wraps up, because honestly, when stuff is current and ongoing, I wait for it to wrap up and finish.
Yeah.
Once it's wrapped up and all on DC Universe or whatever their thing is called, we read it on the podcast. Once it's finished and on DC.
Sounds good. Because I have I have Ultra on Disney Universe Infinite, where like everything like. Because it takes a while for comics to get on digital. Because I know for Marvel it takes like 3 months for it to go on Marvel Unlimited, but since I have Ultra, it only takes like a month for it to go on the digital. So we can definitely do that.
All right, what's your last one?
I think this is like the worst one. I mean, just like not because of like how difficult it is, but just how I had nothing else. I tried so hard not to be basic, but would you rather only read comic events or only read independent comics?
Only read independent comics.
Fair enough. That's what I would choose too.
Yeah. I mean, there's more bad comic events than there are good.
That goes without saying, yeah.
Yeah. And there's not that many, so you'd probably run out pretty quick.
Yeah. So that was like a terrible one.
Not a bad one though. It's interesting. It's different.
Yeah. I'm trying. Next time I know I'll make better ones. But yeah,
those were good. All around good stuff.
All right. I think that's it for today's episode, isn't it?
That's it.
Alrighty. So that wraps up everything. We gave you guys our top 10 of the first half of 2023, and then we did a little fun segment, this or that. That, as Frankie said, is going to be reoccurring from time and time again. Let us know what are your top 10 comics you read in the first half of 2023, and give us your answers on any of our this or that's. That we said on the podcast. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and on TikTok at ComicsRTW. And you can follow me, Orion Scott, on League of Comic Geeks because I'm doing reviews on there. So if you want to see what I'm reading off the podcast, definitely check that out. Where can they find you on League of Comic Geeks?
Frankie AM is my username.
Awesome.
So yeah, find me on League Comic Geeks for sure.
Yeah. Then just like overall, just check out League of Comic Geeks. Really fun app. Check out your local comic book shop. See if you want to pick up anything we just said or anything like that, because I highly recommend Beta Ray Bill. So good. And yeah, check out our socials: Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, Comics RTW. Keep updated on whatever we do next and the announcements we make. I know you're going to do a YouTube giveaway pretty soon at our YouTube channel, Comics Run the World. So
Yep.
make sure you guys keep an eye on that, and we'll Comics Run the World.